go. Get locked in. We're going to get this show on the road.
Mm-hmm. Oh, so close. There we go.
All right, ready to go?
Yeah.
Lock in. All right, hello and welcome back to another 5K tennis discussion. Today is Saturday, April the 10th, 2021. And we're here to talk about a lot of things today, not just in tennis, a lot of shout outs, a lot of topics, a lot of current events, and yes, tennis as well. Don't forget to hit the like and subscribe button. The subscribe button is very important for when we do the prize giveaways or just random cash or prize giveaways. That's the only thing needed to qualify, so make sure you do that. If this video just cuts out just randomly, stay tuned. We will make a part 2. If you followed our channel for all these years, or at least 3 years now, you'll know that sometimes our internet connection here on this island off coastal Alabama is relatively weak, so sometimes our show will just stop. We will restart a part 2, and as usual, we will give out $20 to the first person that, in comments on a potential part 2, says, "I'm back." So that'll be our giveaway, at least for the early part of this show for today. Mm-hmm. So as usual, we're going to start out today with shout outs. And by the way, I was really in the zone to do this show this morning, was all excited about it, and I still am. But Carla goes to our house that we have been 7 months living outside of because of a hurricane that destroyed it, Hurricane Sally, back in September of last year. We had a torrential rain this morning. Shout out to Ryan Mason out there because he's in coastal Mississippi.
Yes.
And had to deal with the same storm, and our house is flooded again on the inside. So I'm beginning to think that maybe moving forward we may not even live there. I'm about to give up. I'm about to just let the owner have it and think about moving. What do you think?
I don't know.
All right.
What can you do?
Anyway,
more stuff got ruined.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
All right. Let's start out with some shout outs as usual. First shout out I want to give is from someone that at the conclusion of the last show, we talked about on the last show, Carla went through some type of hate, whatever, however you want to put it. It was either racial or sexual or whatever. She went through some type of hate at a tennis facility, and someone reached out to Carla by the name of Momo20, and I wanted to read Momo20's message and to give he or she a shout out.
Sure. All
right, let's go.
All right, here we go. Momo is, I like the name. Beautifully said, Justin. You and Carla personify positivity and the 5K family you have created, both at home and internationally, is a testament to that. And that is something the haters will never be able to touch. There's a lot of wrong with the world, but there's also reasons to be hopeful. Continue to lead the way, all respect and support.
It's a wonderful message.
Yes.
We do our best to, I guess you could say, be positive. I know a lot of people think sometimes when we go off on, say, Federer or Djokovic or Nadal that we're being not positive to one of them or whoever. I think we had a message the other day from, I don't know who it was, but someone said that we needed to be professionals, and they were talking about sometimes when you say certain things about Djokovic and they called you not professional because you just simply said your opinion. I think we always try to remain within a professional standpoint. Oh, okay. Anyway, we try to remain professional, but sometimes people don't think we are because maybe we've said something negative, or at least what they portrayed as negative about their favorite player. Shout out to Ethan DA. So the hat here is a hat that Ethan DA in New York sent us when we moved back into our house, which now I'm doubting. We are going to do a wall, and we're going to hang stuff up on the wall that you sent to us. So Ethan is the first person to do this. So he sent a Roger Federer autographed hat. So that will be our first piece up on whatever wall now.
I should wear this hat, just for the whole show, but then you probably won't see my face, right?
Yeah, I don't do
pink.
that.
I like the pink.
You're not even a Federer fan.
No, I mean, I like him, but I'm not a huge fan, no.
All right, next shout out. I wanted to give a shout out to someone by the name of Tennis with Mikey. This shout out has to do with a post that I made about myself hitting with a Dunlop racket. And just prior to making the post, I told Carlo that I thought it was kind of peculiar that I'm hitting with a racket now that I've never hit with before, but the reviews from certain distributors like Tennis Warehouse or Tennis Express, Midwest Sports, whatever, read the racket as being very low on the review scale, right? So they'll, they rank rackets on a scale of like 100 down to like 60 or 50. And I simply said in my post that I can't believe this Dunlop racket was rated so low when I've been playing with a Babolat Pure Aero or some type of Wilson racket for 41 years. Let's see, I started at 2.
You played with Babolat for 41 years?
First racket I ever had was actually a Bancroft Bantam Woody, but right after that, it was a Jack Kramer autograph.
Okay, but you haven't played with Babolat for a long time.
I started playing with Babolat in 2007 when the Pure Aero came out. Anyway, I think that the Dunlop racket hit just as good, if not better. Tennis with Mikey came out and said that it's without a doubt that these companies will review rackets less that don't pay them as much as the other brands.
Yeah, he said because Tennis Warehouse doesn't get paid enough from Dunlop. That was his comment.
Yeah, so I agree with him totally. Sometimes you can't believe what you hear, anything of what you see or anything of what you read, because politics and being paid off is very, very prevalent in anything, right?
Yeah, I like your Dunlop
Yeah,
racket.
I like it a lot.
You know, I play with the Serena one.
Yeah.
I kind of stopped playing with it because my shoulder was hurting a lot, and so I went back to my other Wilson racket and I felt better with it. But your racket actually had a lot of spin and it was light.
Shout out to Tennis with Mikey for that. I agree with you totally. I did want to mention one thing that I don't know if any of you keep up with hip hop or rap music or whatever, and not saying that I do very much anymore, but there was a large portion of my life that was spent in different clubs, in the hip hop scene, freestyle competitions and so forth. And one of the big icons for us, at least in that point in time, was DMX. Stop, drop, shut him down, open up shop. Whoa,
Yeah, he
the
had
Rough Rider.
He had a unique voice. Too sad. That to me was sad news because this guy was 50 years old.
Yeah,
50 years old. I mean, I'm like 9 years or 8.5 away from that. That's a very short life, in my opinion. Just sad that when you become rich or famous or you're in the limelight or you're an artist, that you get involved with drugs and just addictions that you can't get rid of, or that hurt you eventually. It's just a tough thing to fight when they're in that industry.
Yeah.
And he left a lot of kids, behind too. It's sad for them, and some are older, some are young.
Yeah.
But I liked him. He was I actually, when he was younger, he was a good looking guy.
And still was and is in whatever life he is currently in. A lot of people don't understand why entertainers they find themselves involved in a particular lifestyle, alluding to different types of substances. Why is it they do that? They are generally traveling all day long. They go to a show, they come out on stage. At least a lot of the hip hop artists, a lot of the jam bands, they'll start their show at 7 and end at 10:30 on the nose. But a lot of the hip hop bands, they'll start their show at like 1 a.m. and end at sunup. Then they'll be back on a bus and then they'll crash, whatever they can do. And then they have to be able to, mentally, they think they have to be able to be on a certain level to amp up the crowd and to perform. And because of that, and because of human beings becoming tired as we do as we age, artists, especially entertainers, find the need to give themselves an extra boost. And unfortunately, this is another example of how lives are cut short.
Yeah.
But DMX,
definitely,
R.I.P. Let's go.
Yeah, like
everything.
I said, I loved his voice, but I think you just said it, as you get older, you don't have the same energy. I think you and I realize that we're in our 40s and we are tired. So can you imagine these guys who are doing concerts and performing here or talking on a talk show there? They're definitely taking something. They're definitely taking something to keep going. That's for sure.
Yeah, and I think a lot of time it's not by desire for the most part. It's either by physical addiction, mental addiction, or simply telling themselves, I'm fixing to have 40,000 fans staring at me. I need to make sure I'm energized, right? Because you don't want to go on a show and just be blah. You want to be ecstatic. You want to make the crowd go wild, right? You want to put it down.
That's tough to do, to perform
and it's
that
tough,
long.
and it's tough to do that after multiple years on tour, much less at multiple decades.
Jack Nolte says Prince Philip too, but DMX was sadder case, only young.
Okay, Jack Nolte. I'm going to skip ahead to a topic real quick because we have this as a topic, a whole page worth of topic. So Jack Nolte just mentioned Prince Philip passing away. First of all, Prince Philip, if you don't know, United Kingdom, London guy, died at 99 years old. Always had a great track record, always been internationally known as a good person. Why did I even write this down as a topic? Okay. For 3 or 4 shows, Carla and I mentioned that Meghan Markle and who is it? Prince Harry?
Prince Harry, yeah.
Made more news in the United States than finals of tennis tournaments. And why is that? Because of, family breakdown. What is it? I think it was Meghan Markle that was claiming she was bullied, or maybe there was some racial stuff going on. Anyway, blah, 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 blah.
It doesn't matter.
Okay,
Yeah.
doesn't matter.
Blah, 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 blah.
Here's my topic question. If you are the royal family, knowing that this is a very sad and a very, I don't want to say traumatic, he was 99 years old, but a very sad event.
Sure, anybody that dies is sad, but at 99, most of us are not going to make it to 99, and that's just a reality.
Well, good for him.
Yes.
But my question is this. If you're the royal family, knowing that this is a sad moment, and you have just gone through the whole Oprah show with Prince Harry and Meghan Markle claiming, racial bias and bullying and so forth, how does the family deal with getting everyone together now, across the Atlantic and come together for this really sad funeral in a way? How do they come together for it? I want to remind everybody that family issues are what's the word I'm looking for? They're omnipresent. Family issues are everywhere, no matter your economic or social status, no matter if you're a king or a peasant. It doesn't matter.
A peasant.
What do you do here? If you're the royal family, that surely they have a heart, and surely they have morals. Surely they want Prince Harry and his wife to come to this funeral. How do you get that to happen?
Look,
now that you have this.
Look, it's a funeral, right? I mean, it's not like you guys have to talk to each other. Justin, we've been in one of your uncle's funeral where many family members did not get along, but they were there for your uncle. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You just don't talk to each other, but you are paying your respects for that person or for the person that lost a spouse or whatever.
It does kind of make the funeral kind of odd.
It makes it odd, but you show up and you put your straight face and that's it. And then you leave.
Yeah, I would imagine the paparazzi is going to have their time with this one. And if they don't let him in the wedding, I can assure you there's going to be helicopters or spy satellites watching this thing, right? You're talking about the royal family.
True.
Right?
Yeah.
What to do here? What are your thoughts here? Does anyone think that family issues escape the most elite on the planet?
No. I mean, there's always someone that doesn't like someone or someone that's envious of another person. I mean, we all go through it, but it's part of life. And when someone dies, you just go and pay your respects and squash whatever you have at that moment just to show respect for that person who passed away.
Yeah.
I mean, let's say if I don't really have that many family issues, but let's say if I wasn't talking to my brother, which would never happen, and let's say, God forbid, one of our parents died. At that moment, you have to forget about that and you just show up, and you support whoever you have to support and then whatever.
Yeah, they're in quite the conundrum there. That's all I want to say. I'm glad I'm not involved in that because that's a mess.
Oh, Ethan said, "You're a bigger person than me, Carla." My aunt never reached out when my mom died, so she basically dead to me.
I see.
I mean, I get it.
And I get it. And
I understand.
And what he says is basically what I'm alluding to. Mm-hmm. You mentioned at my uncle's funeral there were some people there, and it was odd. It was weird. It was very odd when you're around people that have seemingly embezzled money from other families or money that was taken that they pretended it was no big deal, and that's a small tip of the iceberg compared to what they're dealing with, right? They're dealing with this whole royal family thing being called out on the international stage. I think that the awkwardness of what we are alluding to was on a microscopic stage. I think it's a different chapter. I think it's a much bigger deal.
Well, they need to act then, because a lot of the stuff they do is acting. At that point, they need to act like everything's okay for that moment. they did it before, they can do it now.
All right.
Just saying.
Jack Nolte, thank you for that. That took out one of the topics for a little bit later. What to do these days about family issues or issues with other people. One of the things about social media and everybody always holding their cell phones in their hand and going to Facebook is we tend to think that people are better friends to us than they really are, especially on these social media platforms. Yeah. So you have somebody, yeah. you have a friend on your page or whatever it is, and you put out a photo and you keep seeing the same person like your same photo, for like 3 years, and you've never met the person before, never seen them, have no idea who they are. And then your mind grabs a hold of that this person is your friend and they are, everything to you in a way. But when shit hits the fan, you get that there's no one there.
By the way, there is one viewer out there that I'm sure you guys seen make a comment. Last weekend, we were teaching tennis. It was Saturday before Easter.
Ryan
and
Mason.
There was a person standing there with the baby stroller, and I'm looking at him because we were doing a lesson, right? It was Lily hitting with Dylan. It was a lesson. And I'm watching this guy, and I said, he seems so familiar. Where have I seen this person before? He walks up to us. He says, hi, Carl and Justin. I'm Ryan Mason from Mississippi.
Let's go.
He brought his little baby. He decided to drive down after he had lunch with his family. He drove down. Tennis player, coach.
Let's go.
Teacher.
Come on.
It was a pleasure meeting him. We're going to get with him next week. His baby was beautiful.
Big boy, too.
Big boy, healthy baby.
Yeah.
I got to hit with him.
He has Serbian blood, so he has Serbian blood. Yeah, right.
I got to hit with him. He had a one-handed backhand. Gave us a few tips on the one-hander.
Let's go.
Really, really, really nice guy. Just really nice person to talk to. Someone that finally decided. I get so many messages from viewers. Love to meet you. We don't live too far, but no one ever comes, and this guy did.
What I thought was really interesting here is it wasn't the first time we've had someone show up on the tennis courts.
No, but it was for your weather.
Well, yeah, that's what I'm getting at. So over the past, 3 or 4 years, before we started doing the tennis, I always filmed hurricanes or snowstorms. Believe it or not, we had one here. And I would say maybe 5 to 8 people over the past 3 years have showed up on the tennis courts, wanting an autograph or a picture or something. And it has always been for the weather videos. A lot of people travel to this island and they want to know about the weather, and they Google it up and they find the videos. Anyway, but this was the first time a tennis fan of the show showed up on the courts, walked onto the court, and introduced themselves. Awesome guy, wonderful family man, a great one-handed backhand, and this is the coincidence right here. Next weekend, 3 of our 5 children are playing. No, 2. 2 of our 5 children. I was thinking about Dylan, but he's actually not our child. He's like part of the family, but he's not our child. So we're bringing 3, but 3 of our children are playing. Okay, Dylan, if you're out there,
we might as well adopt
you, bro. But there's 3 players we're bringing in our car to the tournament, and the tournament just happens to be minutes from Ryan's place.
Yes.
So we will be seeing you, Ryan. What's up? Let's go. We will be seeing you, I think, Friday and Saturday nights in Mississippi. Let's go.
So let me read a few comments here. Jack Nolte says, social media creates false images and some relationships that are false. That said, there are positives too, but I agree with what Justin said. Jesus Cruzcava said, that's wise, Carla. Hope the royal family are able to have time besides the funeral service and royal duties to honor Grandpa Philip. Jesus, you mentioned in one of your comments earlier about 90 years old. I remember my 90 years. You're joking, right? I mean, there's no way you're 90 years old. And let me go back to, there was another comment here. Oh, Georgia, you're out there. George, how do you pronounce Djokovic's brother's name? It's almost spelled just like yours. I want to know before we get to that topic.
I don't know. When the live chat stops, at least on my phone, that's when the phone disconnects. So if you wonder why a lot of times I'm getting up, it's because I go back to the phone and I have to hit the live chat button and wait for it to come up. So anyway.
Let me quickly.
So was that Bojan Stevanovic?
No. That was Jesus.
Right, go ahead. Hopefully the video doesn't cut out.
No.
All right, let's roll.
Next comment. Next topic.
But while I was doing that, you mentioned that we were gonna talk about something before we went back to it.
Yes, Djokovic's brother, but I didn't want to pronounce his name wrong. It was spelled like George's, but it had a J in there. So I was just wondering if he was out there.
That's the Serbian Open topic.
Okay.
All right. Any more shout outs you have?
Yes,
Carla?
I do. I actually have a shout out. Just last weekend we had to clean our house, remember? And Justin and I walked into our house. This was Easter Sunday. This is how we spent our Easter Sunday. We were going to clear out the house because we're supposed to move in next week or this upcoming week. And him and I were like, we didn't know what to do. There was so much mess, so much clutter.
Oh, yeah.
We kept pacing back and forth. We taught a lesson in the morning, and then we said, well, we'll spend most of the day cleaning out the house. And we had a lesson at 5 o'clock with one of our students, Gabe Perkins. I had to cancel his lesson after I saw the mess that we had in the house.
And Gabe's coming today so I can string all his rackets.
By the way, I sent his mom a message telling her, I'm so sorry, I have to cancel the lesson. I don't know what to do. It's just too much for me right now. So she tells her son decides, you know what, we're going to drive down there and I'm going to bring my friends, his girlfriend and his friends down there to help me out. Well, I had a crew of Natasha, Gabe, his girlfriend Haley, Allie, and Mike.
And then our son Chris.
And then Christopher,
me,
Dylan, and my dad and his wife was there.
Yeah.
And they all helped us out. We were able to clean out the house.
In a couple hours.
In a couple hours. So thank you guys very much because I don't know what we would have done.
Yeah, and Gabe Perkins, by the way, what's up, Gabe, out there? I'll see you today to string your rackets for your state sectional starting on Monday. But Gabe Perkins is doing a charity drive where he's going to serve 1,000 tennis balls.
And I'll actually post the link to that his video so you guys can watch it. Maybe you guys want to donate to this kid who's trying to do something good.
Yeah. Anyway, yeah, we'll post that out there. Have you ever been in one of those situations in life? And I've been in this type of situation seemingly like daily, where you just walk into something and it's such a huge mess, and your mindset is to clean up the mess. And you realize that there's so much mess, you just have no idea where to start. And then for a couple hours, you're still walking around in circles.
Trying to pace. We're like, what to do?
Where you're about to feel like you're going to give up.
Yeah.
And you literally are about to give up. You're like, enough, I'm out. We're going to find a different house. We're done with this, enough. And then all of a sudden, this group shows up and we get it done in a couple hours.
Yes.
That's a big shout out.
Yeah, that's definitely.
That's huge.
Without them, we would still be cleaning that house. Still.
Been ridiculous. There was someone that asked us a question about our t-shirts.
Yes.
Some of you have asked where can you get the 5K tennis t-shirts like the one I'm wearing and a couple other designs. If you expand the description field on the video, it's like a down arrow next to the title or something. You'll see, hey, where we type stuff. There's a link to Teespring there, which has...
Yeah, it was Bojan who asked.
So read Bojan's comment.
He said, thank you for the shout out today, guys. That made my day. Is it possible to buy your t-shirt and support your channel that way? And you responded, yes, you can buy t-shirts. There isn't a profit except pennies, literally. We don't care about it, honestly. But I'm not going to read the whole comment.
Yeah, it's okay.
But basically, you can purchase, Justin's wearing one of the shirts. You get a very small profit, but I think we care more about you guys wearing the shirt than representing.
Well, with the company that we use for the shirts, you can increase the price of your shirt as much as you want, and then make the difference. We decreased it all the way down to plus a penny.
Yeah.
So we don't make anything. We had dropped it down even further, but then they took the shirt off of the site, and then we called them. We're like, hey, why is the shirt missing? They said because it's too cheap. Did it cut out?
No, it's just my phone. Okay, sorry. It's just my phone that's doing.
Jeez, that's I get nervous when that happens. All right. Anyway, the link is in the description description field. There was another shout out we wanted to give to Marco Baric. Marco Baric.
Yes.
Do you have that?
Yeah, that's a long comment. I didn't take a screenshot. He was talking about the score.
All right, let's start that as a topic.
Yeah.
This topic number one, comes in lieu of Marco Baric out there sending us a private message about a scoring fiasco and a women's match in Colombia.
Yes.
Okay. It's a relatively long message, and it had to do with an older video. By the way, a big shout out to anyone, and especially Marco Baric here. We try to do these shows not just about current tennis, but about a lot of topics that are prevalent in the world in which we live. Carla and I have always felt that tennis is an international language. People in the tennis community tend to know one another, but you can't tell me that all of us in the tennis community only have tennis to talk about. We have lives, we have feelings, we have emotions. And it seems to me that tennis is a very good community to be able to create a family type environment, and that's why we do this.
Right.
So a big shout out to anyone that watches older shows that finds topics such as the one that Marco Baric found, and to make a comment on it that resonated to tennis now. So there was a women's match. I don't know if you have all the details, and it was in Colombia. And the chair umpire had the score wrong, as well as one of the players had the score wrong. And it just ended up being a mess. We've talked about keeping score before, whether you're a junior, whether you're a college player, whether you're a pro player. Someone's going to mess the score up, right? Isn't that one of the first things we teach juniors is don't forget to call out the score, especially if you're serving, right?
Correct.
It happens, it happens, it happens. I think that the biggest problem here for me is where was the iPad set up? Nowadays we hear that chair umpires don't even keep the score anymore. It's already on the iPad, and they're just kind of monitoring things. So I don't know if it was an economics issue, why in Colombia they didn't have this type of setup.
Yeah, and I'm reading here. It was Astra Sharma. He's put the tournament in Bogota, the women's competition, brought an unprecedented refereeing error. It turned out that the referee's mistake in the chair directly affected the course of the match to the detriment of the Australian player Astra Sharma in the first round of this WTA tournament against Giulia Gatto Montecone of Italy. The Italian woman won in 3 sets. That was because there was an incredible oversight in the calculation of points. And he goes on and explains it. I mean, it's and then I guess Sharma had I guess something happened after that. I didn't get to watch the video.
The moral of the story is the score got jacked up. The writing that he did was perfect. But the moral of the story is the score got jacked up, right? How important is it to call the score out, number one?
Very important. And then Astra Sharma says, the WTA supervisor told me that I should learn a lesson in the future and concentrate more on the result instead of tennis.
That's an incredibly preposterous statement.
Wow.
I still don't know how there is not, and I think this is a women's tournament commensurate with an ATP 250, a relatively, a low on the totem pole tournament, but nonetheless a professional tournament. It still kind of eludes me of why that, iPad set up with the score already on it was eluding the ref. Doesn't make an excuse neither here nor there. If you're in that chair, you have trained a very long time to be there.
I thought that's what they get paid for to do.
Keeping the score is paramount.
Right.
Now, there's more than a problem here. The person whose job it is to keep up with it and to do so messed it up. However, really, if you think about it, both of the players did, because they out of 3 of them, no one corrected the score. So there was 3 people that weren't aware of the score.
But didn't this happen before? Venus Williams, she was playing an important match at Wimbledon. I forgot the name of the player, but this also happened to Venus, remember?
It happens often.
But what I'm saying is, if you're the umpire, you're sitting there, you're the referee, that is your job. Your only job there is to keep track of the score and make sure that the line calls or lets or anything like that is being done correctly. That's your job. The player's job is to play tennis. It's different if you're at a junior tournament where you need to keep track of your score. Even college.
I had to keep score in college.
But colleges now even have they have people there.
Again, college was 1995 to 1999.
But we have this now, technology.
That's what I'm saying. So where was that? I mean, surely the match was streaming somewhere online, right? I mean, if we got the results of it via video, and got to watch it via video, surely this match was streaming somewhere. How did not the thousands, I'm guessing thousands, I'm not going to say millions because it was a relatively low on the totem pole match, but surely there were some people watching this thing that even themselves were kind of, like, what? Now, I do know that the coronavirus implications in South America, namely, what is it, Brazil right now? Is it Brazil, Venezuela that has an influx of cases?
I have no idea. I haven't kept up with that.
Maybe someone out there knows. And I hate to spread fake news, but I think it's Brazil that right now has something like 4,000 deaths in the past 24 hours. Now, I do want to say this, that our mask mandate was lifted yesterday at 5. Here in the state of Alabama, we no longer have to wear masks. That's done, and that ended yesterday at 5 o'clock. So I guess in Brazil, south of the equator, I think it's a different story. But here, as in terms of Alabama, Coronavirus is done.
Yeah.
Okay. I forgot where I was going with that. Anyway, keep the dang score, but the umpire has got to answer for this one. You know, maybe the internet was cut off, maybe the streaming was cut off, but if you're in that chair, you got to know the damn score. That's why you're there.
Yeah.
That's you should be fired for that one, and I don't want anybody to be fired, but that's a problem.
Yeah.
Okay.
All right. Next news. I'm sure all of you guys have read. Felix Auger-Aliassime will have a new coach starting Monte Carlo, which starts tomorrow, actually. Which I didn't even know. We've been that busy.
That busy.
That I didn't know that Monte Carlo was starting on Sunday for us here.
Is anybody super excited to watch Monte Carlo?
I'm actually excited because you've got Djokovic and you've got Nadal on the other side. So I'm excited.
Look, I'm always excited for tennis, but it's the clay season that sometimes, and I have to choose my words carefully. I love all aspects of the game, but sometimes the clay, it is just too ball.
Well, I was watching the Volvo Open, and I can't stand the gray clay. I just can't stand the gray clay at all. I'd rather watch it on red clay. The gray clay to me
it's more like a green.
It's boring. It's kind of like it's just boring. You can't even see the ball. It's just so. It's like the New York Open when they did the glare.
They had that, yeah.
It just it drives you, and it's not exciting. At least the red is more exciting. You know, but I definitely understand. But you know what? The reason I'm excited about this one is because you've got all the top players there, except Federer, which we know he doesn't really play on clay. And I'm excited because I saw the draw, thanks to Gene, who sent it out there. You know, I saw Djokovic has got quite a bit of test. Looking at the draw, let me go to it right now. He gets a bye, but then he'll face Jannik Sinner or Alberto Ramos Vinolas. Didn't Sinner give a good match to Nadal? Shouldn't that be a little test for Djokovic?
I think on clay,
that was clay where he played him.
I understand that. I just think on clay, it's Rafa and everybody else. I think it would be great to see maybe some type of Djokovic Nadal final.
Well, that's what I'm talking about.
I think it would be great.
But look at this.
But everything else, I don't think would be that great. Are you telling me that let's just make up a hypothetical scenario. Let's say Djokovic loses, second, third round, whatever.
Mm-hmm.
And Nadal is, into the final, and he plays someone like, I don't know, Carreno Busta, Jannik Sinner. I mean, name them. Do you think at this point right now, Rafa is close to being upset on clay? I mean, he's basically not played much of anything just to prepare for this clay season.
Look,
he wants to break the 21, or he wants to break the 20 majors. Would it be
shocking if he lost? No, because he's lost many times.
Yeah.
I remember 2 years ago when he lost to Fognini. Everybody was like, oh, he's not going to win. I thought the same thing, but then he goes to the French Open and he killed everybody.
Now,
he just killed everybody.
Now Carla just mentioned, would it be a shock if Rafael Nadal lost early in one of these run-up tournaments to the French Open? Why is this a poignant comment? Why is this an important statement she just made? The reason why this is I wrote a comment just after the last show and I scratched it out, okay? And my comment was this, and this is how it's going to tie into what she just said. I had to scratch it out because it didn't happen, but I wrote this, and this was in Miami as we were potentially aiming towards having Andreescu and Osaka play one another, okay? So I wrote this and had to scratch it out because Osaka lost, and then Andreescu ended up getting hurt in the final. But I wrote this. I said, why would Andreescu or Osaka intentionally lose right now? I had to scratch it off because Osaka didn't. Anyway. But before I scratch this off, pertaining to why would Osaka or Andreescu intentionally or not really care if they lost right now, I wrote these things. Number one, two heavyweights playing before a major. Why would you want to show one another's game?
That's
right?
Not good.
Okay. If I am a player and I've been on hiatus for a year, namely Andreescu with injury, I haven't been on the court for a while. I think Osaka at this point, Andreescu had only played once. Osaka having won the one and only, I think, matchup in 3 sets. Correct me if I'm wrong. But I don't want to show someone my game preemptively. I would rather meet them on the biggest stage without giving them a nice look at my game. However, Osaka lost. But the second thing that I wrote before I scratched it off was you don't want to risk injury. Okay, we know that Rafael Nadal has had some nagging, injury deals. We know he's trying to break the 20 Grand Slam tie with Federer. So if he loses early in the likes of Monte Carlo or Madrid, does that sway your thoughts on whether or not he's going to win Roland Garros? I wouldn't think so.
No, but look, this is not the first time. There's been many years where Nadal and Djokovic were supposed to face in a clay Masters, and it didn't happen.
And it didn't happen.
One loss before that. Duh.
Yeah, one loss
why
before.
would you want to face each other? It's not going to happen.
Yeah,
we know this. Someone's going to lose.
Someone's going to lose.
I mean, but I like the draw just because it's more exciting than the Miami Open, in my opinion. I mean, you got Hurkacz, who won the Miami Open. He's there. He's, Lajovic is in Djokovic's side. Zverev, which he's going to face probably Ironman. Tsitsipas on his side. Karatsev on his side. Musetti on his side. Felix on his side. Garin, who's a good... Monfils, who just got engaged to Slovenia.
Now, let me ask you a question because she mentioned Monfils. As you all know, if you followed this channel for 3 years, we both like Monfils a lot. Mm-hmm. Not in terms of we like him a lot as to, hey, he's going to finally win a major. I think you and I together have been following Monfils since just fresh out of Monfils? since fresh out of a junior, right? Mm-hmm. Carla and I have always said Monfils is one of the best pound-for-pound athletes across all sports.
Right.
You look at, Mayweather in boxing or Jordan in basketball or, whoever, Tiger Woods in golf. We have a topic about Tiger Woods in a minute, by the way. Shit, I forgot my train of thought. Who was I just talking about?
Monfils.
That's
what 42 does to you.
43.
40, and this is what 41 does to you.
Yeah, but Monfils is an electric athlete. But Monfils and Svitolina, prior to announcement of being engaged or getting married, Svitolina had proclaimed on Instagram that they were breaking up. She would send messages out on Instagram like, "Where is he? He's never home."
Well, that obviously. Duh, this is like the most common thing that a girl does. She's like, it's over, you're not committed, blah, blah, blah. And finally, you force the guy to get that ring, and now he's committed to
Puppy dog comes from him back.
Exactly.
Put him on the dog bed for a day, and now I want to marry you, right? Didn't work that way.
Okay, Sir John, there's a few that just showed up.
Let's go.
You guys were sleeping? It's raining. Were you guys sleeping? It was like 2, cricket, 3, 6, cricket, quiet, and then
is that Surgeon Djokovic? Because we have a topic about
Surgeon
Jovanovic.
My God, my age is getting to me.
Yeah.
41. I got my eye that's itching. My skin is burned up.
Yeah.
I got so much going on. My voice is on.
Once you hit 40 and go above 40. Shit happens. Let's see. Since I've turned 40, staph infection on my leg. I was in the hospital for 7 days. Broke my right arm twice and my ulna. Ruptured my patellar tendon. What else? Oh, Mohs surgery, basal cell on my. And so Carla goes to sleep last night. Wakes up with a puffy eye, a sore throat, and what else?
I don't know. My head's itching. Everything's just like. What can go wrong in your 40s?
Anyway, what's up, Surgeon? I have a question real quick.
And please help me pronounce Djokovic's brother name, please. Is it George? Do you say it the same way, George? Is that how you would say it? I don't know.
So I have a question for Surgeon Jovanovic. Is he out there?
Yes, he is.
He's there now.
Yes.
Give me a thumbs up, Surgeon, if you're out there.
He says, hi, Carla. Hi, Justin.
Okay.
Good to see you guys.
So I have a question. Okay? So this is my question for anyone in the East. Serbia, Poland, Romania, Ukraine, blah, blah, blah. Here's my question. It has nothing to do with tennis, but geopolitics interests me a whole lot, right?
And I'll read some of your comments when he's done with this topic.
Yeah, this type of thing is important to me. So I don't know how to explain this, but I it's not only that I love geopolitics, but I love to play chess. Mm-hmm. And I love military and military history. My father's a retired captain in the Navy. My oldest son is at the Air Force Academy. Military service in my family goes back generation after generation after generation. My grandfathers, my uncles, and so forth. She mentioned a funeral earlier. That was my Uncle Bill, who was very high in the United States Army.
What was he, a major?
I don't recall right off the top of my head. If my mom's out there, she can answer. However, I always follow geopolitics. And I do know that for the past many, many years that we have had kind of the Donbass, the Eastern Ukrainian area, and Ukraine being kind of separated in a way from Russia and so forth. So I have read in the past, I don't know, week or two that there is a massive buildup of Russian troops on the Eastern Ukrainian border. and I know what I read about it here is it a new land grab? I know that Crimea lacks water resources, and we know that. Um, um, anyway, I won't get into that. Be careful with my political words. I was going to say Crimea was annexed, but wasn't it Russians all along in the first place? I don't know. What are your thoughts on this? Why are there so many troops amassing? Is it drills? Is this a new snatch? And I don't want to get into it on the tennis channel, but I love it. I love military history and I love geopolitics. Is this a flashpoint in eastern Ukraine more so than it's been in the past 6, 7 years with 14, 15,000
Someone
people
said
already
Justin
dead?
Trudeau is Fidel Castro's son.
Justin Trudeau from Canada? No, I think that's a metaphor.
Oh, okay.
So yeah, that would be a
And then
metaphor.
Terry says Fidel Castro was the greatest leader ever.
I don't know the answer to
Are
that.
you joking?
I'm not from there. I don't know.
Wait a minute. Are you joking?
Some people may think that way. I don't know.
I don't know. I got a lot of Cuban friends. Are you joking?
So here is my chess move to end the
man.
question. Here's my chess move to end the question. So
Georgia says American Army and NATO are massing on Russian border in the last 20 years.
True. So here's my question here though. So you have advances here, or at least troops amassing on this border. We know that this part of the world is basically frozen and inundated with snow until I think the late part of May. I think there's like what they call a steppe. Do you know what an STEPPE is? A steppe. A steppe is like an elevated. It's kind of where the mountains meet the land, and it gets kind of hilly and it gets muddy when the snow melts. They call it mud season. So a lot of times, tanks and artillery and troops won't cross this steppe because it's just too wet. It's hard to get through. Look at World War I and World War II. You don't want to cross that, right? So look, and on the Far East, you have the Taiwan stuff going on. China's flying around the island, putting pressure on the Taiwanese, and then you have the Russians on the other side, stressing out the border there with Ukraine. Does this have anything to do with the new president in the United States? Does this have anything to do with testing this guy? Anyway, I've lost everybody. Sorry. I'll just go back to my reading and do it all on my own.
They're all making comments.
Let's go. Let's hear some.
So Hitchhiker's telling you, no, the mother had an affair with him. Justin Trudeau's mother was a swinger.
Okay,
that's interesting. You can watch young Trudeau and young Castro photos. So I don't know.
Okay, so Trudeau being Canadian, I know the Canadians have free healthcare and so forth, so that would put him on kind of a socialist type agenda. So was Castro. So I'm guessing that ties them together some way, shape, or form.
Cartera says U.S. military has the worst track record when it comes to the violation of human rights.
I can't disagree with that. I can't agree with it. I can't disagree with that. I've read it, there's different, opinion. Everybody has opinions, and I do think that he has a lot of truth there. I do think that we try to get better about doing so.
Ying Hao said Taiwan is part of China. That's why.
So Ying Hao, by the way, is I think now in Australia. I'd love to hear his take on that.
He's in Australia, Ying Hao?
I think Ying Hao now lives. He said he lived in Malaysia, but now Australia, I think.
I don't know. And Hitchhiker said no way worse than China. China has the worst record. Look, no, I'm not gonna say it because we were watching that show. Remember with the way they kill the fish and all that stuff. And
this doesn't. I don't think this has anything to do with.
No, it has nothing
eating
to do with
of certain foods.
No, it has nothing to do with that. They're brutal.
I think for the Chinese, and again, I'm too stupid to understand how their mentality works. I know they're fighters, and I know they're soldiers, and I know they will die for their country, just like a lot of soldiers will. Like we always talk about the Serbians. And,
yeah, I think
they'll fight to the death. Look at the Japanese. The Japanese in World War II used to fly their own airplanes into battleships and be proud of doing so as they were fighting for their nation and emperor, right? But the Chinese have to look off their coast and see this, huge island of Taiwan that they feel is theirs. And then they have someone completely across the Pacific Ocean that says they'll defend it. I don't know if the U.S. will defend it. I don't think they can defend it, and I think China understands that.
Ying Hao said the China thing is just Western propaganda.
I agree.
Surgeon says, no, just to be honest, don't have a clue about the situation in Russia with Ukraine during this pandemic. Only thing in the media is COVID, blah, 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 nothing else. I pray for good peace, enough wars. And George says, we think that the American public don't know 10% what your country is doing all over the world. Very, very bad things.
And see, this is...
and then Hitchhiker says, Western propaganda, hey, they have slave camps for Uyghur Muslims.
Yes, and these are the type of topics that I enjoy. I know Carla may not think so, but we do this for, remember, tennis is an international language, and here we are. We have people from all over the world that are giving their 2 cents on stuff that actually matters. We can talk about
Well, it's just like Central America. None of you guys know what's going on there unless you live there. My dad tells me you guys don't see that. He's like, you have no idea what we go through.
Yeah, Venezuela. People can't even survive. Can't do anything.
It's like you have no idea how corrupt the president is.
What is Venezuela has the biggest oil reserves in the world? I think by an exponent of 2, and their people can't eat. But this is why I really like to do the show, is because tennis brings us together. And those of us tennis players and staunch fans, we can be objective and still state our points. I think everyone had just a really great point. Surely there's a lot of atrocities that any military has caused. And surely, yes, there is slave labor going on with the likes of communist China and so forth. But does that make China any worse than some of the things that maybe historically we have done? Or is it just that we're all in a world of shit and we're just trying to figure out the best way to get through it? What's the best way to get through it and come together as one? Tennis.
I think every country, anywhere you go, they have their issues. Look at India. I mean, the rich to the poor to the peasants, like you say. That's a big difference there,
Big difference.
Big difference. And if you read, that's sad what happens there. It's just a lot of stuff, Let me go back to tennis, though. There were some comments that I kind of skipped, and I'll start out with one that's way, way, way back. Someone asking about what's the best rival ever, and I think that was Ying Hao. He asked, is Novak versus Rafael the greatest rivalry ever? I don't think so, in my opinion.
Because of the big 3, I think you have to put all of their heads-to-heads to that. Now, there's a lot of rivalries that go back to when I was a boy.
But is that enjoyable?
Becker, Edberg, Agassi, Sampras.
Yeah, but is that the most enjoyable for you to watch? Novak and Rafa. They kind of have similar games, very defensive players. There's a lot of rallies going on there. I don't find that as exciting. I find it exciting when there's 2 different type of players is more exciting to me.
So you're saying basically, and I think I might kind of agree with you. You're saying if you've seen one match against Djokovic and Federer, one match against Djokovic and Nadal, one match against whatever trio I missed.
No,
you're saying that basically they're kind of all. If you've seen one of the 50, you've seen them all.
If you've seen Novak and Djokovic play a million times, it's going to be the same thing. You got to have a different player. Like watching Wawrinka against Djokovic, that's a good rivalry because that's exciting. There's 2 different type of players, is what I'm saying. Pete Sampras was a serving volleyer, or Agassi was an all-around player, or baseliner. That was exciting to see. Mm-hmm. Steffi Graf against Monica Seles, 2 different type of players. Serena against Henin was interesting. Serena against Venus was not interesting because it just wasn't. Yeah. You've seen it once, you've seen it, it's just, I don't think, to me, Djokovic and Nadal is like the best thing to see. Maybe on clay, because the Djokovic fans want Nadal to lose and the Nadal fans want him to win. That's not the most exciting, and I don't think it's the best rivalry ever.
I feel like you just said that the big 3 heads-to-heads or head-to-heads have been played out and burned out. I think that's what you're saying.
Been burned out. I enjoyed, like, if you go back to the older videos, watching John McEnroe play against Borg better than...
I never cared to watch John McEnroe play.
I'm just talking about as far as the games, but his styles.
John McEnroe's sportsmanship and court conduct was just too much to swallow. I think maybe, if you saw it for the first time, okay, this is kind of interesting. But, when all these young kids go ecstatic over Nick Kyrgios, okay, why did I just bring up Nick Kyrgios? I read this morning, and by the way, if any of you follow sports pages and writing, have any of you heard of Yahoo Sports? Like Yahoo, the old browser that used to be very prevalent. I don't know how prevalent they are now. But if you go to Yahoo Sports and click on any type of sporting article, have you noticed how much they spam their titles? Meaning something like this. Oh, the world is going crazy over Nick Kyrgios' recent comment. And then you click on the article, and all it says is, I'm playing the U.S. Open.
Who gives a crap? Sorry.
Who cares? What I'm saying is so many of the young people get so wrapped into Nick Kyrgios' antics and his lack of sportsmanship, and they think it's cool. But is there anything new about someone acting like a buffoon? John McEnroe was an expert at acting like a dipshit. John McEnroe single-handedly tore apart referees and made them look like trash. John McEnroe was every bit of an asshole on the court as Kyrgios, if not times 2. And sometimes we think that this is something new. What was the old saying that goes back thousands of years? There's nothing new underneath the sun.
Yeah.
Right? There's been an asshole in tennis for a very, very long time, and as well in every sport.
Alice Fire said, I guess he Googled it. It said Rod Laver versus Ken Roosevelt.
Roosevelt,
sorry.
Roosevelt.
They met 164 times, he said, according to Google.
Ken Roosevelt was one of my father's favorite players growing up. That was a household name in my home. Obviously, me being born in 77, that was well before my time. But nonetheless, Ken Roosevelt was a household name. So was Don Budge, so was Dill Tilden, so was Jack Kramer, so was Henry Lacoste, the Four Horsemen, and the list goes on, right?
Mm-hmm.
All right. Next topic, and I want to do this pretty quickly. Bianca Andreescu gets hurt again. She lost to Barty at the Miami Open in the final. Barty took the first set, 6-4, and then she was down 4-0 in the second and rolled her ankle. How important is it for Andreescu to not get injured again?
Very important. I mean, she retired from that match
at 4-0 in the second.
We saw something about the ankle.
Yeah,
right?
She landed hard on it. I mean, she went down. She was injured. It isn't like she could have walked that off. If you watch this, she rolled her ankle like I used to roll my left ankle. It came down. It was a good buckle. Andreescu, for the longest time, Carla and I have given, I would say, grief to, but we've always questioned her physical fitness ability because early on in her career, she was kind of chunky, right? Mm-hmm. Who was some other more chunky girls earlier in their career? Wasn't it Taylor Townsend? The American player, Bartoli, is another chunky player. Name some more. Bartoli was chunky back in the day.
Man, you're tough today, huh?
I'm just saying. The knees, look at journal articles, look up articles about how much exponented weight gets put on the knee joints and on the ankle joints for every pound that you gain.
I see Clijsters here. Well,
Clijsters,
I think that's
yes.
why she hasn't been able to come back. There's too much weight. There's too much weight on her right now, and it's tough to, the pounding that you take on hard court is really tough on the body.
I read something recently that, and I don't want to overestimate the poundage. Maybe you could look it up. But for
Davenport, good one, Michael.
It's another great one. Yeah. For every pound, 1 pound of body weight gained puts, an exponent of like 10 on the knees and ankle joints. Even if you lose the weight getting older, the damage has already been done, is what I'm saying. And when we first started the show, we saw Andreescu come on. She was winning tournaments. She won some big ones, even a major. But you and I would always say, I really hope she can stay healthy, even if she loses the weight, because when she came on tour, she was thick.
You notice that there's some women or some players, and I don't want to go on anybody's weight, Jesus, I'm a girl, but you could tell that if they stopped playing a sport, they would blow up.
Yeah.
And she's one of them.
She's one of those.
She's not Georgie. She's not a Sharapova. She's not Swiatek. She's not built that way. In other words,
she's like a Bartoli.
She can blow up if she stops working out. In other words, when her professional career is done, she most likely will be a big girl.
When I
but you could see that if she doesn't work towards it, and because she slides a lot and she does a lot of stuff like Djokovic, who's a very lean guy, completely different body, he can do that, but she can't. Someone asked, does she win 5 slams? I don't think so.
No. She can't even stay healthy.
Well, Serena, yes, she'll get big too. Duh.
Yes, that's a given.
Duh. That's not.
Absolutely.
Duh.
Okay. For a lot of us guys, and I don't want this to come out sexist or wrong or rude, but I think a lot of us guys, at least in the older eras, our fathers would tell us, hey man, if you think you're in love with the girl and you want her to be hot and be ripped up, later in life, just look at her mom, right? Carla's mom's bomb. Like, damn.
Can you stop?
She's kind of hot though.
Nah, it's a stop.
She built like a brick house still. So you have to, what is that? There was a song about this too. Anyway, I forget the song, but you kind of sometimes have to look at the mom. You know what I'm saying? To see where the genetics fits in. So when I met Carla, I was like, hey, can I meet your mom at the same time? She passed the test. I was in. Right?
Oh my God.
I'm just kidding. But look, Bianca is like you said, the Serena will have the same type of issue.
Capriati
will have this type of issue.
Look at Shanda Rubin. Shanda
Rubin's another one of these.
Yeah.
If you are playing the sport to stay fit and then you quit the sport and you don't have anything else in terms of an exercise regimen and you're genetically disposed to weight gain, then you're going to have a big time issue.
Someone asked here, what would Andrescu need to do? Maybe a change of strategy of her game. And so Hitchhiker says, get off Instagram.
I don't know the answer to the question. When I was in college, I took a psychology class, and I forget what the class was, but the professor was Dr.
I do think she needs to change her style a little bit. The too much pounding, running is not for her. She should probably watch. Capriati was a quick. Maybe she should watch it because her and Capriati are kind of built the same way, in my opinion.
Yeah.
They are built the same way. If someone tells me no, I mean, Capriati came out skinny and then she gained the weight and then she lost it. So maybe Andrescu is a little bit skinnier on the waist, but they have similar bodies. And Capriati, one thing she did is she was a risky player. She would try to finish the points quickly because she knew that she couldn't take all that pounding. And maybe she should do that too. She can't afford to rally as long as Barty does. Barty has a different type of game, you know what I mean, and body. She's more of a
Barty.
She's solid everywhere.
Barty right now is my favorite women's player on tour, and my favorite women's player on tour since Justine Henin. She just, to me, has the complete package. I understand she just lost, but in terms of what does Andreescu do, I don't have the answer to that. I was about to say that I was in college. I think it was like my senior year. I had a psychology professor. And we walked into class, and he put this, crazy question on the board, and I forget what the question was, but I'm thinking to myself, I have no idea how to answer the question. And when it was pitched at us, he walked in and he was like, "Okay, this question's on the board for the entire, hour and a half class. I want you to write about the question on the board, what you think the answer is to it. Leave it on the desk when you leave, and I'll have your grades for you in the next couple of days." Right? Mm-hmm. So there was only me and one other person in this entire class of like 200 students that got the question right. And I had no idea who the student was, but I'm reading this question and I'm thinking to myself, there is no answer to this question. I don't know. I've never even heard of this. I have no idea what the answer is. I don't even know how this even makes sense. So after about an hour and 20 minutes of sitting in class trying to figure out what to write, I wrote on my paper, please don't fail me. I don't know the answer to this question. I've never seen it before. I'm so sorry. And I put it and I was a straight A student. Well, there was only 2 people that got the right answer to that test, that got A's on that test. And it was myself that wrote I didn't know the answer, and someone else in the class that did the same thing. In other words, there's nothing wrong with saying I don't know the answer, because sometimes when people are job interviewing you, or they're trying to find out what type of human being you are, or whether you're going to talk a bunch of shit, or if you know what you're talking about, or if you're humble or not, they're going to ask you a question with no answer, or a question that they already know the answer to, and maybe no one else on the planet will be able to answer the question except them. So sometimes it's best to just say, I don't know. I don't know what to do with Andreescu moving forward. I do hope she stays healthy, but her injury now regimen is becoming more so than being healthy.
Yeah. Osaka's another one too that needs to watch out, by the way.
But Osaka hasn't been a crazy injury prone.
No,
though.
I mean as far as
she has to watch out weight-wise.
As far as weight, watch what you eat.
Osaka as a junior was a relatively chunky kid.
When she was a kid, yeah, she was a chunky.
We've seen pictures of this.
But going back to Felix, Tony Nadal is his coach now. I read where he said, I didn't quote it, like I didn't write it down exactly, but he said, if Felix was not a respectful player, there's no way he would have been his coach. And that's what he likes about Felix, that he's respectful and acts like a gentleman on the court, and that's why he decided to be his coach.
See, I'm gonna call a timeout on this whole Tony Nadal with Felix Auger-Aliassime thing. Okay, we've talked about coaching a million times on the show, and this is why I want to call a timeout on.
You didn't let me finish before you did your.
Oh, go ahead.
He said the reason that he decided to help him is because Felix has been 0 for 7 in finals.
Okay.
In other words, there's something mental. It's not his strokes. It's something mental that he can't get over. And he feels like he can help him with this.
Okay.
It wasn't him that went looking for him, but it was Felix that went looking for him.
No, I understand. I'm not disagreeing with you.
Yeah.
In the coaching world, sometimes coaches get lucky, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tony Nadal is Rafael Nadal's uncle, okay? Yeah. Rafael Nadal is a once-in-a-lifetime athlete that came up, and he just so happened to be his uncle. I do not think his uncle created Rafael Nadal. I think Rafael Nadal created himself, and Tony Nadal was there for some guidance that he probably needed.
Well, they were good for each other. Okay, it worked. They were good for each other.
Okay, let me finish. Just because Tony Nadal was good for his nephew does not mean that Tony Nadal now is, the best coach since sliced bread.
I agree. Yeah.
It's meaningless.
I agree. Yeah.
So that's like saying whoever coached Michael Jordan at UNC in college or wherever should therefore be the best coach on the planet. There are certain athletes.
Well, there are certain coaches that have proven that, like Philip Jackson, who has proven that he can.
Phil Jackson,
who has proven that he is a great coach.
What I'm saying is just because Tony Nadal in an individual sport had a nephew that's arguably one of the best or one of the greatest of all time, that doesn't mean that he's going to go be able to help out Felix Auger-Aliassime.
No, I don't think so either. But maybe there's something. It might last 1 week.
It might last 20 minutes.
It might last 1 week. There are some coaches there that do help certain players, but there has to be a right chemistry. Okay, Carlos Moya with Nadal, it's the right chemistry, but they've known each other since he was very young. I mean, what's his name? Federer's Paul Anakin has helped many players. I mean, he is a good coach. I
would think Paul Anakin has more credibility as a coach moving forward than as Tony Nadal, even though Paul Anakin, with Federer wasn't around for too terribly long, I think 5 or 6 years or something like that.
But I'm saying he's a consistent coach.
Yes, consistent over different players coming from a coaching world and not... Tony Nadal is Tony Nadal because of Rafael Nadal, is what I'm saying. Paul Anakin is Paul Anakin because of Paul Anakin. Do you see what I'm saying? Mm-hmm. Tony Nadal is known only because of his nephew. Do you see what I mean?
Yeah.
That's it. Okay?
Good point, Michael Walker. FAA should hire Steffi Graf. She lost her first 6 finals.
I think
could work out. Yeah.
I think that is a better hire there.
Yeah. Well, who knows? We'll see how long it lasts, right?
It's a great comment.
I mean, Justin Hennon's coach, Carlos Ramirez, was hired by Amanda Anisimova, and we thought that would be good, and they didn't even last 1 week.
Yeah, great comment by Michael Walker.
Who knows?
I totally, sometimes Michael Walker will come out with some stuff that just is amazing.
Do you think Patrick Mortaglou is a good coach?
I do think Patrick Mortaglou.
Before you said no.
Well,
go back to his videos where he said Jack in the Box.
No. Whoa. Now you're spreading fake news. I always laugh.
Go back to your videos.
No. I never said he was a bad coach. I said he popped up in everybody's box and is full of himself. He likes to look at himself in the mirror. I never said he was a bad coach. How many times have I brought up coaching drills on this show that he's done?
Now you do, but I will find a video where Justin said, because he's with Serena, no, he got lucky. He's not a good coach.
Well,
and I will find it, and I will put it on this link because you said that.
Okay. Anyway, fair enough.
And I'm sure some of you remember that.
Oh, she's a little feisty right there. She gets amped up when anything.
You said that.
If you say something about Nadal or Tony Nadal or anything to do with his camp whatsoever, she gets pissed.
No. Justin, I'm not. Why would I get pissed? You
just did.
You said Patrick Montaglu was not a good coach. And now you're saying he's a good coach.
Show me a video where I said
definitely.
I think you're relating to Sasha Bajin because I've said that.
No,
I've said Sasha Bajin's not a great coach, and he came from Patrick Mortaglou.
We talked about this topic before. You said Serena was Serena. He got lucky with her. You said that and made a name for himself.
Okay.
You said this.
I still didn't.
And you asked the question? Do you guys?
I still don't hear what you said. I said it was a bad coach.
You said he wasn't a good coach. He's Jack in the Box and shows up in every. Who else has he coached?
I just want to see that quote.
Okay, Justin.
Okay, now this is fake news over here.
Thank you. Michael Walker said, Carla, you don't have to find it because Justin said it.
I didn't say he was a bad coach.
Oh my God.
Jack in the Box, full of himself, egotistical, got lucky with Serena, but I never said bad coach.
Got lucky with Serena. Do we think he's going to be successful once Serena's gone? You've asked this question before and your answer was no. But now you change your mind because you got like the guy's videos.
No.
Oh, come on.
I have said full of himself, egotistical, all about self-image. I've said that. But I've never said, quote unquote, Mortaglou is a bad coach.
Okay.
Never said that.
I will find it. Now I'm going to spend my daughter's birthday finding it.
If someone can find that quote where I said, quote, Patrick Mortaglou is a bad coach, I'll pay you $50 US for your troubles of finding it. I have said egotistical. I have said got lucky because of Serena. I have said he always pops up in people's boxes. I have said he loves to see himself in the mirror. But I've never said he was a bad coach, and I watch his coaching videos all the time.
Now you do. Anyways,
You're wrong. $50 US for anyone that can find that quote where I said Patrick Mortaglou was a quote-unquote bad coach.
So Todd Dasani, I agree with you. I do believe Tony deserves some credit. Coaching a child is not a joke. He made sure his nephew was disciplined.
Great.
It takes a lot to coach a kid. We know it.
Okay, yeah.
Especially one that is your blood.
Yes. Now, you just said it. When I go on the court with any of my 5 kids and they're, pissing around or, throwing water or acting like a schmuck, I get in their face and I'm like, quit! Now, Tony Dadal was able to do that with Rafa, right? Mm-hmm. Now, I can't do that with kids that aren't mine because I might go to jail or people might film me and then sue me later, right? So, like you said, you can't do certain things with others that you can do with your own blood, right?
Yeah, he did that with his own blood.
What I'm telling you. So you can't tell me that his credibility with his coaching Excelsior, because he was able to guide his own blood, is going to do anything different than with Felix Auger-Aliassime.
I'm not saying that I agree with you. I'm not saying we'll find out.
Then why you got your panties in a wad?
I got my panties in a wad because you said I never said that, but you did. How many times you talk bad about Patrick Montaglu? How many times you said this guy got lucky?
Yes.
If it wasn't for Serena, but he wasn't even a good player. Blah 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 blah.
I'm still looking for the key words where I said bad coach. That's all I'm looking for. Okay. I'm looking for those key words.
Please find it, someone. Anyway.
All right. Next topic. Her catch beat Sinner in Miami. Did anyone really?
I didn't even watch it.
Didn't watch it either.
Good for her catch and good for Sinner for making a finals. But anyways, let's go to another thing. We know the French Open is delayed.
All right, so was that all of our coverage on the her catch Sinner match? That's it. Next topic. Is that all our?
Next.
Okay. Great job for
Bad job for Tsitsipas. Bad job for Medvedev. Bad job for Rublev. And any other guy that should have won while Djokovic and Nadal were not there. Hello.
Or Federer.
Hello, guys. Heck, you didn't even have Tino. You had a chance, but you didn't win. What does that say about you guys?
So our coverage for the Miami final on the men's side, her catch beating Sinner, Carla tells the tale. Whatever she said. All right. Done. All right.
Hopefully these guys don't watch that because that would...
I think they probably understand that.
So Michael Walker said, Justin said it more than once about Patrick not being a good coach.
But where did I say he's a bad coach?
Not being a good coach is the same thing as a bad coach. Do you viewers agree?
See, this is where...
So I said that food wasn't bad, but I didn't like it.
Okay, let's say I'm on trial in a court for going to prison for saying something where one word is much different than another word.
You would be crucified. Crucified.
See, this is the problem that we have in the world today. You guys make up things and then you plant words
with the world today.
Don't you think it's a little bit better said that maybe he hasn't maybe he's self-indulged.
So not being a good coach is not the same thing as
just show me the quote.
No, I'm asking you a question.
I've said that about Sasha Jabijin.
Yes, I know, but please.
Anyway,
we're
find it and then we'll talk.
It's so
talk the talk, walk the walk. That's all I'm saying.
If I said to you, if I said to you, you're not a good coach, does that mean you're a bad coach?
I think there's a different way you could say it. You're not a very good coach, and then you're a bad coach. I think that's a whole different deal. just find the comment, because I think you guys are wrapping your head around Sasha Bajin. Find the comment, and we'll talk.
Oh, man. Okay.
$50 if you can find me saying, quote, and I mean the exact vernacular, bad coach. $50. Find it. Good luck. There's like 500.
Don't find that. He says he's not a good coach. It has to be bad coach.
Bad coach. Bad. You're
not a good dog.
But you're not a bad dog.
Come on.
It's okay. All right, can we move forward? All right.
Okay.
Now, since we're not. Now, by the way,
let me remove this comment. That's disgusting.
All right, well, don't worry about it. Why do you even care about stuff like that? Is Gene Sport out there?
No.
He's supposed to remove that stuff. All right. Okay. So Carla's knocking on me about a statement. I wanted to bring something up real quick. Carla, in the past 3 days, has played 2 sets of tennis against my 16-year-old son. And
so we're going to get to that before. That's good though.
Carla lost the first one, 6-3.
I beat him 6-1, and then he came and beat me.
He beat you twice. He beat you 6-3, then 6-2.
So look, my son's preparing for this tournament, right?
Yeah.
Our son is preparing for this tournament. His UTR is close to a 7, so he needs to play. So we put him in the tournament that he won last year, but earlier, right? So he played against him, and Justin can't run right now. He just can't. He was told not to play singles, even though.
But I have played.
So he said, I really can't do much with
Christopher. I beat you 6-4.
When did you beat me?
I was up 5-4 and you quit.
Oh, okay. Good for you.
Let's go.
Anyways,
What is that?
Nothing.
Because that's bullshit. And you know that's bullshit.
Yeah, he beat me 6-4. I retire after 5-4. We had a lesson coming up.
Yeah, I was up 5-4. She quit.
Yeah.
All right.
Anyways, so I told Christopher, you know what? The best type of practice you can get is playing against us or me. Well, your dad can't right now, but me, because, youngsters don't think the same way as adults. They don't. First day he came, I beat him 6-1. It was too easy. But, we played another one, 2 more after that. I thought I had a chance.
The next day and the next day. Not the same day.
It doesn't matter. I'm not mad that my son beat me.
He whipped your ass.
He beat me 6-2.
Twice.
We only played one set, 6-2, because we don't have time for another one.
And then what about the next day?
And then he beat me against 6-2, and I really had no answers for him. I kept attacking his backhand, plays with the one-handed backhand. I kept hitting him high. I kept slicing. I kept dropping. I kept changing the pace. But bravo to him that he has figured something out. I think that's great. But this week we'll play 2 out of 3 because that's more realistic.
Well, he has a tournament this coming up Friday too.
So we're gonna play 2 out of 3. Yeah.
All right, next topic, and this one's a big one. Sergin Djokovic once again is in the news.
Well, we're not gonna talk about the French Open being delayed another week.
Oh, go for it. Read it out.
Okay, as you guys know, the French Open is now gonna be May 30th. So they delayed it for 1 more week. What does this do to 3 small tournaments? So Carla, Arnaud Maria versus your son. Or what? What does that mean, Michael? So Carla, you Arnaud Maria versus your son. Oh, Maria Sharapova. Well, I've won many more times than he has beaten me. I would say my son's beat me 4 or 5 times his whole life. But I mean, he is young. Okay, so we know that May 30th is the French Open, which messes up 3 small tournaments. So instead of this tournament ending a little bit sooner, now it is going to interfere with the 250 Stuttgart, the ATP and WTA 250 Hertinga-Bosch, and the WTA 250 Nottingham. So what does this mean for Nadal? 1 week later, I think a lot of players are actually upset, and a lot of these smaller tournaments are upset. Okay, let me now block this person. Hold on.
No, hey, why don't we do this? Why don't we read one of the comments you're blocking? Let's read one for the heck of it.
Carla's legs make me want to come.
Yeah, let's read that. Can you read who read
I don't know.
that?
It was a different.
Let's read that.
They changed names. Now it's a different.
Okay, let's read the name then. Let's just read
Jorge Lorenzo.
Jorge Lorenzo, welcome to the show, and thank you for saying to my wife that Carla's legs make me want to come. Let me tell you how intelligent of a human being you are. You're the type person that we all want to be like, and we all want to educate our children to be like. You're the type of human being that we all want to copy and emulate. You're the type of human being that we all look up to, let me assure you. It's a really nice comment to a mother of 5 children, one of the best and strongest women I've ever met. This is the type of comment that's the problem with the world in which we live. You're either a 12-year-old or a 30-year-old pervert that should be in prison. But let me just go ahead and reiterate that welcome to the show, and I really appreciate you telling my wife that her legs make you want to come. You have to be a Kyrgios fan. But welcome to the show, and I wish the best for you with your flavorful comments.
Well, I've already blocked twice. So.
Thank you so much.
Anyways.
Asshole.
So anyways, Michael Walker said doesn't mess up any tournaments because only players going deep at Roland Garros will be affected. Well, Michael Walker, I know Zverev was supposed to play for Stuttgart, so if he does well the second week of Roland Garros, then he won't play that tournament. And remember that those tournaments sell their tickets from whoever of the top players are coming, and that's not going to happen because most of those players are going to make the second week.
Yeah,
and they are very upset that the French Federation didn't even tell them anything, didn't discuss it with ATP, didn't discuss it with the WTA. They just announced it.
Well, this isn't anything new by the French Tennis Federation because it was last year where they announced, hey, we're having the French Open and it's going to happen here at the end of the year, blah, 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 just deal with it. So I think it's safe to say that the French Tennis Federation is very Napoleonic. They got the short man syndrome, whatever you want to call it, and they're not asking, they're telling. I think it hurts the women's tour much more than the men.
Yeah, and Elise Cornet, the French player, says, this is what she said. French tennis player Elise Cornet became aware of the news during her match at Charleston. She says, it stays between us, but our sports minister is a disaster. A shocking look, Cornet told the tennis channel. Sorry, I have nothing against her, but she takes bad decisions for the sport. It's like she doesn't care. I know it comes from the government. It might also come from the tournament because I heard they may have more people if they postpone for 1 week. but I think it's pretty selfish, to be honest, because the calendar is going to suffer from this postponement.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's safe to say that the French Tennis Federation is very confident in what they do and say. I don't know what to answer about this. I think that it's very important to the French Open that they have the new roof. They surely that wasn't a cheap expense. They want to make sure their seats are filled, and it's a tough world in which we live in. I don't know how the coronavirus stuff is going there. I do know here in the state in which we live, not the entire country, but the state, that it's done. We don't have to wear a mask anymore. We don't have to hear about it. If someone wants to tell us to put our mask on, we can say, get out of my face. And we don't have to do it anymore. It's over. So I don't know what's going on there, and I don't know.
Well, that too, because I think they've done the vaccine for anybody over 16 can now have the vaccine.
Yeah.
So I think they feel like, okay, well, people can be a little bit more freely now.
Yeah.
Up north is a different story. I think, Michael Walker, you're in New York, and there's still things that are shut down there.
Well, your friend Priscilla's in Jersey, and she's still yeah. But here in Alabama, and last night at 5:00 p.m. it ended. No more masks at all. Done. Mm-hmm. So I'm happy for that, and hopefully it goes well. Next topic: Srdjan Djokovic. That's Novak Djokovic's father, is once again on a kind of international stage. In this case, on Serbian TV, and stated. And I quote, Roger Federer is a great champion, but not a great man, stating that he, Roger Federer, attacked my son when Novak was 18 or 19 years old. Now, I read this on multiple different platforms, and I mentioned earlier that Yahoo Sports was great at spamming the title. One of these articles that I wrote here was off of Yahoo Sports, and I read it. Srdjan Djokovic says Roger Federer attacked my son. Okay, so of course I clicked on it. But then when I'm reading the article, I find out that it was really no big deal at all. Srdjan Djokovic is just saying something along the lines of, if everyone thinks this guy is so great and such a class act, when Djokovic was 18 or 19, this guy was just verbally going after my son all the time. So if he's such a great man, and he was much older than 18 or 19 then, as my son was still a boy, and he was very much a grown man, why would this great class act man be saying these things to my son? So a big thumbs down to Yahoo Sports for once again spamming the title.
I didn't find that Novak's dad really.
He didn't say anything.
He didn't say anything.
I
was trying to find stuff. I'm like, what are they talking about? I kept finding. I'm like looking on Twitter, looking on all these.
It was bullshit.
I could not find anything.
It was bullshit. He said nothing comparably worse than what this buffoon out here just said, Jorge, about wanting to do something very adult in nature by looking at Carla's legs. The media has to stop on the Srdjan Djokovic versus Roger Federer theatrical bullshit. It's not true. The titles that these Western media journalists are using are just so wrong.
Well, I think George said, guys, that is the way the Western media works.
Yeah, it's so wrong. Look, okay, here we go. My second oldest son, Christopher, is 16 years old, okay? I caught word the other day that there was another kid at a dinner table in front of strangers that dissed my 16-year-old son. How pissed off was I about that? And this was another boy. Anyway, I won't get into that here. I'm not going to let anybody talk about my son. Ever. And if I do know you talked about my son, our relationship has changed, and I can assure you that one has changed. Don't ever talk about my son, and I will never forget it. Ever, 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 ever forget it. Okay? You talk about someone's son, the relationship will change, and it will always change. Srdjan Djokovic has the same response and mentally that I have about another kid. See what I'm saying? Don't talk about someone's son. All he is saying to the world that the journalists are taking way out of proportion is how can you say this guy is so classy?
Sinisa said the interview was in regard to Medvedev's story on the Australian Open.
Hey, what's up, Sinisa? Great to hear from you.
What's Justin's sign? He's a Scorpion.
Scorpio.
Can you tell?
What?
Can you tell? Because my dad's the same way. Fiery.
What does that have to do with anything?
Oh, Scorpios and Leos are ridiculous.
I don't get into that astrology
ridiculous
stuff.
Scorpios, once they're upset, it's so hard to calm them down.
It's no look, when you talk about someone's son though,
it's so hard to calm them down.
The 5 children that we have, Jonathan, Christopher, Liliana, Gabrielle, and Justin Jr. If someone does anything or says anything to defame them, I will never have the same respect for them again.
Yeah.
Okay. Even if it's another kid.
It never said what Federer said. It never said.
Someone's asking. Never said. It
never said hitchhiker. I never found it. But here's another interesting thing I found. George Djokovic, which is Novak's brother.
Oh, this is a good one.
Serbian Open. He's the director of the Serbian Open that's coming up April 19th to the 25th. I was reading on this and I thought, that Nadal and Federer and all these people don't like each other. Turns out that his favorite player, his idol, is Nadal. His favorite person is Nadal.
Djokovic's brother.
Djokovic's brother. They got to play ping pong, and they said at that time they didn't understand each other because they didn't speak English very well.
Ping pong brought them together, right?
But he said he was very respectful. He said, I got to beat him. He said he gave me a hug after that. He's a really good guy. He's like, and I haven't had the chance to speak to Federer, but this guy is the director now of the Serbian Open, who was bought. They bought it from Ion Tiriac. We know who's a very rich guy and a tennis player, and Boris Becker's.
And Tiriac is the gentleman involved with the Madrid Open that Serena Williams will not be playing because of some potential racial. I don't think it was racial though. I think it was more like she should retire or she should play in men's tennis. It wasn't racial. But Tiriac is the same person involved in that debate with the Madrid Open that Federer and Djokovic and Nadal are playing.
Well, this is an ATP 500, 650,000 euros, the prize money. He says that he didn't want to involve Novak in the decisions because he wanted to treat him like every other player. Yeah, right? It's your brother, Novak, Thiem, Berrettini, Monfils, Karasev, and all the Serbian players are committed to this tournament. He said he did not invite Roger Federer because he could not afford to pay him, but that he will invite him next year. He would love for Roger Federer to retire at Belgrade, which I thought was pretty funny. He says, I hope that he plays in Belgrade and retires here. And they're also having a WTA 250 there. So I thought that's pretty good for them, His brother starting to get involved. He wasn't as good as a player as Djokovic, but he's still involved in tennis.
I think the narrative here is quite comical. So here we are. We run into this topic by indicating that Djokovic's father, once again, has reminded everyone that, Roger may not be the most classy person in the world. And here we are with Djokovic's brother that has saying he wants to have Roger at the Serbian Open, right?
Well, don't you think maybe he's trying to make, because of what his dad, always says, maybe he's trying to squash things?
Okay. Yeah. Does anyone think that there are certain things in the sports world, in this context, tennis, that have been planned or have drama written in them to sell tickets, like WWE wrestling, like something that Vince McMahon would write, right? We know WWE, which when I was a boy was WWF, but the trademark, because it coincided with the World Wildlife Federation, had to be changed to WWE. So when I was a boy, it was WWF, Iron Sheik, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, let's go. Anyway, does anyone think that any of this narrative is written into other sports? Let's take a look at it. We know that there's a lot of beef, at least that continuously gets brought up about different players, Serena and Tiriac, Federer and the Djokovic family, which so much of it is so overhyped and it's just gotten into social media typing and it gets blown out of proportion. But how many things in the sporting world do you think are narratives that are simply written in and the players actually follow along with some of it simply to sell more tickets or sponsorships? Let's look at a few. The Serena Tiriac thing. Serena with the ball being shoved down the throat at the U.S. Open. Nick Kyrgios and all his gestures, and just because he announces he's playing the U.S. Open this morning, and at the end of the year, the world's going crazy about it. The name Fadal. You know when Federer and Nadal would play each other all the time, people would call it Fadal. It would sound so cheesy. The Fadal name. What a mockery. What about Federer now being invited, to the Serbian Open? Meanwhile, the same day that this comes out, he's back in the news because Djokovic's dad is on him again. What about Billie Jean King and Bobby Riggs, the Battle of the Sexes? What about the next gen stuff? Then how cheesy is the next gen stuff? Incredibly cheesy. Only there to try to sell more tickets because these three guys, or last 1.5, tend to beat everybody, right? Mm-hmm. What about the Laver Cup? How cheesy is the Laver Cup? I personally think the Laver Cup is just stupid. bunch of guys hugging each other. Let's go. You know, so stupid.
Okay, going back to the whole Djokovic and Federer thing. Okay, look, in tennis, when you are two and up and coming players, I can understand probably there were words said. We've seen this in junior tennis where there's two great players or college players, and they're like screaming at each other or fighting, or someone might say something to a parent, or what, it happens everywhere.
It happens all the time.
It gets, when you're playing and you're upset that you're losing or something, you're gonna say something to the family or whoever's there.
That's the way I roll.
That's normal. That's normal. I don't think that they hate each other. I just think more like, I don't want to lose to you. Simple.
How many altercations have you seen me with other coaches? Quite a few, right?
Yeah, like I don't want to lose to you. Like I remember there's players like, there's no way I want you beating me because I know that if I let you beat me, then you'll have the say.
Yeah, coaches and parents get into it just like the players on the court, right?
Yeah.
One coach is screaming.
I don't think George Federer telling Novak's parents to shut up. I think I've done that before. Told someone to shut up because they haven't stopped clapping or screaming.
I had the UMS coach tell me to shut up because I was screaming too loud.
But I've told people,
but yet I couldn't tell him to shut up for yelling at his players too loud.
I don't look at Federer as being bad for telling them to shut up. I'm sure that Novak's dad was, doing something. So what? We've seen it before. We've seen it in so many matches. That doesn't make you a bad person.
Yeah.
I don't think that Novak.
If that's the case, I'm a bad person.
I don't like that Novak smashes racket, but I don't think he's bad at yelling at a fan. It's probably getting under his skin, and he's just reacting.
Yeah, that's just
human nature.
That's just part of being in the trenches and being in battle. Look, I
remember that. I remember Philip when he retired from matches when he was younger, and players used to say he has no heart. He obviously fixed that problem, though.
What started Djokovic's demise, at least in the eyes of a lot of sports writers, is when he would do his imitations. He thought it was funny, and other players did it. But he did a bunch of imitations at the U.S. Open one year. This was when he was very young. It was 2007. I was there. He did a lot of imitation. I know the crowd laughed about it, but when everybody funneled out of Arthur Ashe Stadium, most people were like, "Who the hell?" That was disrespectful. I know I caught a lot of media highlights and so forth.
But that's old.
But this,
so old.
It's a two-way street here. Again, I'm going to go back to my own example, so as not to offend anyone or their player or fan, regardless if it's Federer, Djokovic, Nadal, whatever. My own experience. Recently, in the past month or two, I was at a tournament and I was playing a local school. UMS was the school anyway, and the coach, who was just this big big hefty football coach looking dude, was screaming the whole time at his players about how could you be hitting volleys like this, rah rah rah. And then finally I'm like, geez, this guy's screaming so loud I can hear him across 70 courts, so I'm going to start cheering real loud. And then when I started cheering real loud, he got in my face and told me to shut up. And I'm like, hey, hold up, bro. Don't come telling me to shut up because your fat ass has been yelling here for so damn long. I can hear you across the street. If I can cheer, or if you can yell, then I can cheer. Deal with it. Get lost. And he got lost all right. He got the hell out of my face. But it's a two-way street.
Look, you don't have to be best friends. You don't have to be best friends on the tennis court. There's many players who don't talk to each other outside of the tennis thing. You have the Maria Sharapova and the Serena, Justin Henin and Serena. They didn't talk to each other. Do you think Steffi Graf was friends with other ladies? No. She didn't speak to anyone in the locker room.
Yeah, when you beat
she was
everybody
there to
up.
win.
Exactly.
And so the whole thing with the Djokovic fans and the Federer fans eventually has to end because these guys don't have to like each other. They don't have to. They should respect each other, but they don't have to be nice to the family members.
Yeah.
That's between them two.
Yeah, ultimately, this is just two guys or two families that may not just care too much for one another, and then it gets thrown into the media like it's a real thing.
It happens everywhere.
It is very much the truth that Djokovic and Federer themselves as athletes have long been past this. And whatever beef remains is no different than the beef that I always have with some kid knocking on my son in front of a bunch of people.
What I'm talking about is like if you go to junior tennis, right? You see these two juniors going at each other.
Yeah.
They're mad at the parents because they're getting involved. We see this happen all the time. It doesn't mean that you're classless. It doesn't mean that you're a bad person. That's just the way it is.
It's just part of the deal. Parents, coaches, and the players in their own rights have their own trenches and their own kind of aspects of warfare that they're dealing with, right?
Mm-hmm.
Just the other day, we were in a tough situation when Gabe played Christopher. With one of your very good friends, if not your best friend,
so what do I do?
Priscilla.
What do I do? I walk away.
Match.
I walk away because I don't want to be involved in anything. Like that's them too, and I walk away, and that's it. So whatever.
Anyway, a lot of this topic about Sergej Djokovic slamming Roger Federer is Western contrived and blown out of proportion. Titles being spammed. It's simply a father, a caring father
or a father that just opens his mouth and he shouldn't.
Like me. I'm the same
Maybe
way, Carla. I'm the same way. If you're knocking Sergej Djokovic, you're knocking me because I'm the same way. You know,
there's
I
some
open my
dads.
mouth.
There's some dads that don't know. You know,
like me.
They're easy targets. So what do you think? And they open their mouth. And then there's some that don't refuse to do that.
Look, I'm going to end this topic on this, and this is on me. In my own perspective, for me as a person, if you disrespect my wife like Jorge did about your lovely comment a little while ago, too bad you're not actually sitting right here because she just beat your ass for you. I wouldn't even have you just watch because those legs would like snap your face. But if I am in a situation and someone defames wife, children, parents, something like that, you know, I'm not going to go after you. But I will always disrespect you from that point forward forever. You can apologize, you can do whatever, but I'll always disrespect you, right?
Mm-hmm.
Plain and simple?
Yeah.
Okay. So it's safe to say Sergej Djokovic just disrespects that side of the tracks for whatever reason. He's entitled to that because I would be very much the same way, right? Okay. Next topic, and this is a pretty important topic. Do you have that picture of the helicopter I sent you?
Yes, I do.
All right. Don't ask me how this relates to tennis because it really kind of doesn't. But Carla's going to show you a picture of a helicopter. Okay. Now turn it sideways. It's a big helicopter.
Let me shut this screen out.
Now, the reason why show them the helicopter. See if they can see this thing. Take a good look at that copter.
It's beast.
All right. You see the helicopter? You know, guided rockets, heat sensing radar. All right. Why are we showing you a picture of the helicopter? Now you talk about a shit sandwich. That helicopter you just saw is like a rival to the United States military's Apache. It's a hardcore helicopter, right? This is a shout out to Turkey. Turkey, the country. How in the hell is Turkey going to give their police officers now attack helicopters? Can you imagine going to Turkey and stealing a pack of gum? And you go in there and grab a pack of gum, and all of a sudden, freaking guided rockets blowing up the whole convenience store. You're like, oh, baby, here, pass this gum. Blow! Can you imagine having police officers?
He said that's not an Apache.
I know it's not an Apache. I'm saying it's a rival to the U.S. Apache. I know the AH-64 very well. Very, very solid platform. That's not an Apache, but it's in other words, a Turkish-made rival to that type of attack helicopter. Very well versed in the AH-64, by the way. Could you imagine though, and the United States giving police officers attack helicopters? Like, what do you do with that? Hey, pull over, you're speeding, you better pull over, don't evade. Bow! Hit him with a Hellfire missile. Can you imagine that? I told you not to go anywhere. Boom! Can you imagine that? Hey, there's a bank robbery going down on 5th and Broad. Hold on, let me bring in the attack helicopter. We got hostages. I don't care. Boom! Whole bank gone. Get lost.
What are they trying to do with the helicopters?
Jesus, man.
I'm just curious. What are they trying to do with the helicopters?
Oh, I don't know. I don't know why a police officer is damn attack helicopter.
But in the police, yeah, at least you can stop, get out of the car. Like, what are you supposed to do in the helicopter?
Jeez,
like, you're supposed to call backup?
Just launch a
back
missile.
Up? I mean,
gone. All right, B.
Jaywalking. Boom.
Done. I told you not to cross the pedestrian. Boom. Yeah. Freaking cat climbs up the neighbor's tree. I got a cat in my tree. Hold on, we got him lined up. Do I have permission to fire, sir? Yes, fire. Boom! Get out of my tree.
T-129 AT attack Turkey helicopter.
Yeah,
that's what it is.
Probably.
Okay.
Yeah.
By the way, this week this was okay. All right.
All right. Anyway, don't break the law in Turkey because you will be
RoboCop. That's what they need, Daryl.
There you go.
This is Daryl Caldwell. RoboCop would be a good idea.
All right.
I just can't imagine what you would do in the helicopter.
I got a couple more topics, and we'll do this really quickly.
Meow. Boom.
Yeah. Don't go to vacation in Turkey if you have an inkling to break a law, because you will have a Hellfire missile crammed on your ass.
Don't go anywhere. Yeah.
All right. There was an article heading I looked up this morning, and here was the article heading. Tennis star Eugenie Bouchard goes viral after taking her COVID-19 shot and calling it her golden ticket. Does anybody care? Not me. I don't know how they even went viral. So dumb. Eugenie Bouchard. Wasted talent. 2014 Wimbledon.
George says no.
Yeah, I agree. All right. A coach.
Oh, we did talk about the engagement. Yes, we did talk about
Who,
Michael
Svitolina
Walker.
and Monfils?
Yeah, we talked about that.
Yeah,
You
we
missed
talked
that.
about that at the beginning. We indicated how is it that Svitolina and Monfils get engaged when 2 days prior to this, Svitolina was downloading Instagram messages saying he needs to get out because he's never around. I never see him, and then all of a sudden they're getting engaged.
Well, like I told you, she said, you know what? There's no commitment here. You keep doing this. You keep doing that. I'm not saying unless I get the ring.
Let me get that.
She got the ring, so now he's hooked.
Anyway, being a dead horse. Okay, next topic. In the news, and this is a very serious topic. In the news, there was a former San Francisco 49er, and that's an American football team, not soccer, football, throwing the football, tackle football, that alas killed himself after killing numerous people, including family members and his own doctor. This was a tragic event in the U.S., and I only saw the news of it because I obviously keep up with San Francisco 49er news and so forth, and I saw this. So first and foremost, these type of tragic accidents are continuing to happen, and they happen time and time and time again. Now, in this situation, there was a football player. I won't even mention the name here because I really have a lot of respect for this person. I understand that this happened, but there's a reason why this happened, and it has nothing to do with gun control. It has nothing to do with the person, in a sense. It has to do with the picture behind why this happened. So this NFL player, as you know, NFL players get injured a lot. Now, Carla has been with me for a long time. Carla, you have been with me through surgeries, through staph infections, through multiple broken bones, for blowing out my knee, being in a walker and wheelchair, having to bathe me, having to help me use the restroom. You've been through it all with me. Mm-hmm. And you've seen what painkillers can do to people. Mm-hmm. It doesn't matter if you take these things for a short period of time. It's when you stop after a short period of time where people get upset and pissed off and they don't even think like themselves, right?
Yeah.
So this NFL player, God bless, to everyone involved in this, was I can't say, I don't know how I want to say this. He was his life was taken from us, and he took a doctor's life and some family members' life. Ultimately, because the doctor stopped his medication, meaning his painkillers, right? So is this the player's fault? Is this 100% the player's fault that he went and got a gun and this happened? Or is it maybe the fault of the entire medical field that for so many years prescribed opiates and strong painkillers to anybody that walked in the door simply as to try to keep a patient coming back? And then all of a sudden, because it gets kind of, okay, the opioid crisis is out of control, now we got to stop it. When people go through acute withdrawal and their stuff gets cut off, this is what happens. I'm not saying the player's innocent here.
You can't blame the doctor, though, because you don't know if that doctor...
Well, shouldn't there be a way to help these people out of these situations instead of just cut off and get lost?
That doctor might have been the one that decided, hey, maybe you're taking too many, we need to slow it down or something. They might have been a doctor before that gave him...
Or maybe the doctors, because maybe the doctors have been allowed to do it for so long, and now they're like, all of a sudden, okay, put the brakes on. Maybe before these types of immediate medication stoppages happen, maybe we should work with the patients on proper ways to wean them off, proper treatment centers to deal with it, so they don't have to end up like this. Mm-hmm. Am I right? Not saying that concussion protocol...
George says, I was on pain medication for years after my car crash and was in rehabilitation for addiction and painkillers.
See? It happens.
The biggest problem in my life, yeah.
That's what I'm telling you. Is that Jordy Rolich?
George Rolich.
Thank you for that comment. That's a really deep comment.
It is.
And that's the comment of the day. When I was in college, my tennis career became very rapidly, at least on a competitive side, to an end. Multiple shoulder surgeries, so many not catastrophic, or I wouldn't be walking or talking, but very, very life-changing injuries. And through all of those, that type of thing has been involved.
Almost destroyed my family. Well, we went through something similar.
We went through something similar with me.
And I've seen people, the way he acted and personality is... I would tell him it's like you're super sweet and then you get angry for no reason. And then it's really tough to deal with. And that's why a lot of these tennis players that take these pain medications, when they're done, they need to be careful. Because they're playing through that pain. Once those painkillers are gone, what are you going to do?
Look, I think one of the first times we went through this, I forget what it was, what injury I had at that point in time, but there was a lead up to surgery through MRIs and then post surgery, then physical therapy. So there was like a year's time of using pain medication, and then it just abruptly stopped. And it took me a couple of months simply to smile again. I was so upset about everything. I didn't want to talk to anybody. I couldn't sleep. It was really bad. And she was with me every step of the way. I didn't intend for it to happen. I was just taking medications as was given to me. I wasn't warned that, hey, after a year of doing this, if you stop taking them, watch out, you may want to shoot yourself or other people. I was just told to take it. And then finally, once surgery and physical therapy was done, no, that's it. So what I'm saying is there has to be fault here on a broader scale besides just the player that was probably legally entitled to have the firearm. It was simply the brain activity stopping something that was normal to him.
Yeah.
And I think there has to be some transparency here, and not just blame it on the player or gun control. Let's look at the doctor and the medication control. Correct?
Yep.
All right, enough
So
said.
they were talking about some football players, and they were talking about football players and soccer players. The head injuries. Jack Nosey said head injuries in soccer players is a big issue with studies showing correlation between dementia.
Yeah, and this is another thing. Look, football players like Junior Seau. You know, I was a California kid. Junior Seau was linebacker for the San Diego Chargers. A role model to people, and he kills himself, right? So, there is a lot of things about concussions and dementia and schizophrenia and all these different things that happen. Look at Muhammad Ali when he got his brains beaten in so much. Look at boxers like Joe Louis over time back in history. Michael Walker surely knows about a lot of these events. But I get that if the gun wasn't there probably wouldn't have been the issue. I get it, but if the medication had been properly administered and withdrawn from, and even with the proper withdrawal, it's still hell on earth. But I read something like this, and all I read is about, hey, the gun is the problem or the athlete is the problem, and no one wants to talk about the doctor being the problem.
Yeah, I said, let me see here, some other comments.
Now, speak about pill bottles. Tiger Woods, we talked about, and I don't want to get into someone's private life, but the Tiger Woods, we know, was involved in his second car incident.
Hold on. LS5 says players with persistent congenitive mood and behavior symptoms such as depression, rage, and memory loss, characteristics of CTE.
Yeah. Now what CTE is? Cranial something entropy. With CTE, repetitive hits to the head. CTE is an abbreviation for cranial blah 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 entropy. What is CTE?
Concussion, chronic traumatic.
Anyway.
Encephalopathy.
Yeah, there you go.
I'm probably saying that.
All right. Anyway, you did great, but great comment. And this is very true. So tell me if it's not a multifactorial shit sandwich. Number one, you have a football player who was a safety or a cornerback, by the way, a defensive player.
Thank you, Philip. Yes, I was looking.
And by the way, Philip is a neurologist out there. So what better person to get involved in this communication or conversation than him? But so you have repetitive blows to the head. You have a defensive player that has obviously had injuries his entire life, running and just busting people up, right?
By the way, happy birthday, Lily. You're watching and I guess you're chatting there. Hey, Mom, this is Lily. Got my haircut.
Let's go.
I hope you like your haircut.
Hopefully it's not too short. Curly
You
hair.
didn't cut it short, right? I told him to thin it out.
Yeah.
That was it.
So Philip, I think should answer any questions here because this is his forte, at least a large portion of it. But you have repetitive blows to the head. You have the CTE aspect of it. You have medications involved. You have he played. I think he played for the 49ers, and I think he played for the Falcons for a year or two. So he had a kind of a short window of an NFL career. But most of these, especially defensive players and the NFL, because they're designed to kill, they have very short careers because of this. So you would think that 7 years of playing in the NFL, you would have enough to kind of put aside and to kind of retire on and blah blah blah. But what worse way to deal with that than to have your doctor cut you off and then just left to fend for yourself out on the streets? How many football players have ended up on the streets to addiction? Hell, we just talked about DMX at 50 dying of a massive heart attack after an overdose, right?
He said it's horrible combination. Head trauma causes damages to the frontal lobe, so people become impulsive and violent. Pain meds changes the brains also. So like for all these tennis players, and I won't even, but we watch many of them play through
Yeah,
injuries, and
yeah.
they've admitted they're taking pain meds. My question to them is, what happens after they retire?
Well,
Like someone made a comment here. This is why, like that Daryl Caldwell said, that's why, like tennis and golf, the player will need to afford the crazy meds, not team doctors feeding the players crap to keep them performing.
yeah. And is it just in sports where we have um, inherent drug addiction issues? I spent 15 years in the car business. In the car business in terms of like service management. So like you bring your car in, and then you have like service advisors that write the customers up and take their orders and then call them and follow up with them. And I would do that, and then service management later on in my career with that. Till finally I couldn't do it anymore. Why? Because drugs are rampant in this arena. You got salespeople that come in at 8 in the morning and they can't leave until hopefully they sell something or they can't pay their kids, and then these customers come in at 6 o'clock at night and they've been there since 8 and they can't go out and be super smiley. Hey, how are you? How are you doing today? And smile through customers defaming them. Oh, get my dad. The salesperson, especially in the car business, has to smile all day long, has to just grin and bear it when people disrespect you and laugh at your offers and stuff. And it's to the point where, just like we talked about rappers and artists, they have to take all this stuff to perform so they can stay electric on stage all night, every single night, right? It's no different anywhere you go. People, especially in sales, have to have this quality of outgoing, and they want to draw you in. And how do we do that as we become 40, 50 years old with multiple kids and stressful bills to pay and lockdowns? How do we do that? We end up being vulnerable to substances, right? And when we become vulnerable to substances, life goes to shit. Am I right?
Right.
God bless this football player.
Philip says not only pain meds bad for you, but they don't heal anything, so you're actually doing more damage to the site.
Exactly. Been there, done that. Great comment. And I wanted to mention the Tiger Woods thing. Tiger Woods is a great athlete, good role model, but just another example of someone that, unfortunately, at this point, I'm beginning to think that he's one of these same people. He's been through back issues. He's been through these issues. And when we get this crutch, the crutch is always there. And if you're one of these, quasi-million-dollar athletes, it's not very hard to find that crutch. So we know Tiger Woods got into a wreck. He was already involved in, I guess kind of a DUI circumstance not terribly long ago, a few years ago. And then he gets into a wreck, and I guess the police have released that when they checked the box, I guess the recording box in the car, his pedal was at full throttle, and there was empty medication bottle in the car. So here we are once again. Is it Tiger Woods' fault alone and his alone? Or is it the same? How many doctors right now are going to prison? Like Michael Jackson's doctor, right? Isn't Michael Jackson's doctor that ultimately killed him going to prison? But we talk about these athletes that are hurting themselves, but where is the implication to the doctor, to the crooked doctors? And that's,
how are your kids talking to you if they have no mobile phone? They're obviously using the laptop.
Yeah, she doesn't have a mobile phone.
No, Gabby got in it. They don't have mobile phones. They're using the laptop. They can log into the channel and chat just as you are. So.
Yeah, they're definitely our 11-year-old does not have.
Well, that was Gabby. She's the 9-year-old. She's definitely on the laptop.
She's on her laptop.
Yeah, she's definitely looking at it. I love your show. Very funny. Gabby speaking. Philip says we have to stop prescribing pain medication. We're killing people. It's not just narcotics, but things like Tylenol and Motrin have long-term side effects. And that's why I don't like taking anything when I have a pain, like in my shoulder or anything. Because Tylenol and all that stuff, you never know.
Yeah, that's a good question. I do take Tylenol.
Part of it, too, is patients sue doctors for getting certain medications, or not getting certain That, too, yep. Mm-hmm.
It's pretty tough stuff, right?
It is, yes.
All right, man. So that's all I got.
Yes, I got to go check a haircut right now. Hopefully I like it. If not, you're going back with me.
So we will see you soon, and I know we've said this time and time again that we hope our next show is in our actual house. Again, I was really kind of saddened today that we've been 7 months staying where we're staying now and just about to move back in, and there was a really bad rainstorm last night, really heavy, and we walked into the house and it was already water all over the floor, leaking again. So I'm going to try to dwell on what I want to do with that.
Yeah, I got to go look at that right now.
I got to figure out where we're going from here because I don't know if it's going to be there.
Okay.
All right. Take care, everyone. We'll see you soon. Much love. Vamos.
Supposed to be. We're gonna move in next week, but I gotta look at this leak. So.
Yeah. So we kind of been hunkered up for 7 months waiting for the house to get fixed, and now it's pretty close, or at least we thought. And it was the heaviest rain we've had since hurricane season last year, and the house was flooded again, all through the walls, all over the floor. So we can't put furniture in there.
It's just on one side. It's just on the.
It's in our entire living room.
It's in the living room, so I can't put anything.
Can't put a
But
TV.
I gotta go look at some dining room table and stuff like that right now. So.
Anyway, I don't even want to talk about it because I'm gonna freak out.
Alrighty.
All right. See you guys. Much love.
Bye.